Hi, and welcome back to David Pattinson's Accused Friends. Today I want to give everyone an update on the John Leslie trial that began yesterday in Southwark Crown Court. We did a video about this on Wednesday, previewing the trial, and yesterday was the official first day. It's the day where they're doing the trial preparation, and John Leslie's giving his anticipated not guilty plea, which is what happened, and then they set a date for the actual formal part of the trial to begin, and they did that, and it's going to be March 16th, 2020. But today I want to talk about what I saw yesterday at the courtroom. I was there, John Leslie was there with his dad and his legal people, and wanted to give some more insight about the case. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. Now, in the other video we did, I talked about John Leslie's previous accusations of sexual assault or rape, and there was 4 different ones, but I actually realized I missed one of them out. And this was from 2015, where he had another accusation of sexual assault, and the police investigated him, and he was not charged. And this was another allegation up in Scotland, where he was living at that time. And so this case in 2019, or the main part of it will be in 2020, is actually his 6th accusation of rape or sexual assault by a woman, and the other 5 he has either not been charged or he has been acquitted. So this is an interesting man to follow as far as false accusations go. I don't want to make any predictions about what will happen. In this case I'm covering 2019-2020, but I'm interested to follow it and provide my thoughts to you. So let me give you an idea of what happened yesterday in the courtroom. The way these trials work, and this was the same in my case, it started in the Magistrates Court for John Leslie, and he has an option at that point. It's in the Magistrates Court because it's a relatively minor offence, but anytime there's a sexual element to any accusation in Great Britain, the accused has the option of going to the Crown Court. And there's a couple of elements to consider, in a nutshell. If you're in the Magistrates Court, your case is adjudicated by either one magistrate or a small panel of magistrates, and the penalty for guilt is, the maximum penalty is 6 months in prison. So it's either 6 months in prison or any penalty lower than that. If you opt to go to the Crown Court, your trial is adjudicated by a jury of 12, and it is also a more expensive process because the burden of proof is that much higher, because you've got to convince 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt instead of just one or a small panel. And however, the downside is, beyond cost, if you're found guilty, the judge could impose any penalty he likes up to life in prison. So John Leslie opted to go to the Crown Court. I did the same in my trial that I won, and so I understand the process quite well. So I just wanted to kind of lay it out for people who are not familiar with it, so that it gives them some insight. So yesterday was day 1. This is where the accused, John Leslie, goes to the Crown Court for the first time, and he has to restate his plea, even though he did it in the Magistrates Court. He could have pleaded guilty. He was advised about a lesser sentence for pleading guilty, but he declined to take that and pleaded not guilty as I'd have expected him to do so. He seemed in a pretty relaxed mood. There was a little bit of back and forth with the prosecution barrister about the discovery process. This is where the prosecution will disclose to the defence all the evidence they have against John Leslie, and that has to be done in a timely fashion prior to the actual formal part of the trial beginning, so the defence has enough time to prepare the defence. And of course, as some people know, under Alison Saunders, the discovery process was sort of either 10 seconds or 5 seconds before the accused trial began. So the accused man had absolutely no time to prepare a defence. There were some cases under Alison Saunders, rape cases, where the prosecution was still disclosing evidence to the defence after the trial had begun, which is a total violation of a citizen's right to a fair trial, and it's why I'm leading the Citizens Prosecution of Alison Saunders. So, you know, that has kind of gone back to a normal time period now. There's not a finite sort of date and time when that's all got to be done, because the prosecution's sort of collecting the evidence and, you know, preparing their case, but the judges keep a close watch on, you know, making sure the defence have all the information, you know, in a timely fashion. So I think from what I heard, the defence are expecting to get that around about October, November this year, and then they'll have plenty of time up until March to prepare a suitable defence. So that was one thing I wanted to mention. Another thing is when they read the plea, the charge to John Leslie in anticipation of his plea, instead of saying sexual touching, which is actual crime, they call it sexual assault. And this, to me, is a form of kind of neuro-linguistic programming. It was the same in my case. It was sexual touching against me, but they accuse you of sexual assault. And the reason is because it sounds worse. And it makes the accused man seem like, wow, he's being accused of assault. This must be like really serious. Instead of it being, you know, just, oh yeah, I touched someone and that was that. So they also do this when they're talking about the accuser. They refer to her as the victim pre-conviction. So the person making the accusation, who may be a false accuser, is deemed to be a victim even though it's not been established they had a crime or an offence committed on them that's been proven. Now, it's fair enough to call someone a victim after an offence has been proven, but the way the Crown Prosecution Service work is they call someone a victim pre-conviction, and again, it gives an element of bias in favour of the female against the male in any of these sexual assault cases, and I think it skews perception deliberately, and it's what happened to me, it's what happened to John Leslie. I think it needs to be challenged much more by legal observers, and that's what I'm doing by disclosing that to you. So I want to also talk about John Leslie's media strategy. He used to work on the show This Morning, the ITV show, you know, almost 15, 20 years ago now. And whenever he gets cleared of these sort of accusations that have been made against him before, his strategy is to kind of go on that show and, you know, talk about how he's been to hell and back and he's trying to get his life back together and that sort of thing. And, you know, I don't need to give John Leslie any advice about appearing on television, but what he does do, and what I discourage other people to do, is that he talks about how his behaviour in his 20s and 30s was, you know, was not good, or as he puts it, you know, not my finest hour. And I've done a video before about, you know, communicating to men about not being part of a WhatsApp group and talking about sexual conquests with women. And it's the same if you appear in any kind of media, if it's on television or if it's, you know, online like I'm doing. Do not talk about, you know, previous behavior being your bad behavior on your part, you know, because it just opens yourself up to accusations, and it gives the Crown Prosecution Service a stick to beat you with in terms of evidence. If you've got things in a written format or in a digital format, like I've said before, the Crown Prosecution have no sense of humour, and they're going to use anything against you that they can. You have to remember, these rape and sexual assault cases are a business. Lots of judges and clerks and prosecutors and barristers and lawyers make a ton of money fomenting division between men and women, and they're looking to create more of these cases. Women that come forward are lauded, whether they're given an honest account of what happened or not. There's no statute of limitations on these cases, so they can go, you know, as far back into the past, you know, as anyone wants. And I just discourage anyone from kind of going in front of a camera and talking about their past behaviour being bad. John Leslie understands television very well, so he has his own reasons for doing what he's done. But I think for, you know, regular folk, I just don't think that is the way to go. And, you know, I would discourage that. Yeah, it's a sort of a side point I wanted to make. So I think, to summarise, I made another point in my video, and I want to re-emphasise it, that John Leslie is not part of the Citizens Prosecution in any way. His representative declined the invitation that I sent them. He's the only person that I've reached out to who has not been 100% supportive of the Citizens Prosecution of Alison Saunders, and he is the only person to be charged a second time that of the people I've reached out to that, since the Citizens Prosecution began. So whether there's any correlation between those two events, I'll leave it for you, the audience, to judge. But want to let everyone know, following the John Leslie trial, and definitely be there in March next year. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, the police over the years have spent a lot of money investigating John Leslie multiple times. And, I don't want to preempt a verdict in this trial, but it'd be interesting to kind of see how much British taxpayers, through the police, have spent over the years investigating John Leslie. And, I think we'll have to make a determination next year, it'll be the 6th time he's been investigated, and, whether British taxpayers are getting value for money. So look forward to following the case. I'm not trying to presage the verdict. I'm not trying to influence the case in any way. I just want to report to people who are not as close to the trial as I am, what's going on, give them my thoughts, and want to thank everyone for following David Pattinson's Accused Friends.